Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Teena Jha with the news, your one-stop destination for all the major events and happenings from across India and the world. As always, let's begin with the headlines. Stress on adopting biofuels to replace petroleum. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates Asia's largest bio-CNG plant in Indore. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar at Munich Security Conference meets global leaders on the sidelines of the conference. All set for third phase of voting in Uttar Pradesh and single phase polls Punjab. Voting will be from 7 a.m. on Sunday. Separatists in Donbas evacuate civilians to Russia, announced military mobilization at the border. Russia calls West's fears of invasion baseless. And Team India announced for Sri Lanka, Rohit Sharma captain in all three formats. Chiteshwar Pujara and Ajinkya Rahane dropped for the tests. A quick run through of the top 10 stories of the day. India reaches vaccine landmark. 175 crore COVID doses completed in the world's largest vaccination drive. The government lists multiple initiatives to promote manufacturing and adoption of electric vehicles. Ayush Minister Sarbanand Sonowal launches fourth section of Dhanvantri Bhavan. Nepal to adopt India's unified payments interface as its payments platform. Kerala schools to function in full swing starting 21st February. Thane railway station will be redeveloped as world-class station, says Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav. President Ramnath Kovind on a visit to Odisha and Andhra Pradesh till 22nd of February. Meghalaya Legislative Assembly to meet for the budget session from 4th to 17th of March. Six African countries to receive mRNA technology to set up vaccine production centers, says the World Health Organization. And China to review zero COVID policy in the face of rising economic pressure. Starting with the big story of the day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday virtually inaugurated the 550-ton Gobardhan Bio-CNG plant at Indore in Madhya Pradesh. The plant is based on the concept of waste to wealth innovation. In his remarks, the Prime Minister called for garbage-free cities in India. He said lakhs of tons of garbage sitting on thousands of acres are causing air and water pollution and spreading different kinds of diseases. He added that the second phase of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan will address this issue. Listening.
मुझे खुशी है कि आने वाले 2 वर्षों में देश के 75 बड़े नगर निकायों में इस प्रकार के गोबर्धन बायो सीएनजी प्लांट बनाने पर काम किया जा रहा है। ये अभियान भारत के शहरों को स्वच्छ बनाने, प्रदूषण रहित बनाने, क्लीन एनर्जी की दिशा में बहुत मदद करेगा।
The Prime Minister has also expressed confidence that India's rising capability in the drone sector will give the world a new leadership. On Friday, he flagged off 100 Kisan drones from different parts of the country for spraying pesticides and other farm materials. The Prime Minister said a new culture of drone startups is forming in the country.
अगले 2 वर्षों में 1 लाख मेड इन इंडिया ड्रोन बनाने का लक्ष्य रखा है। इससे अनेकों युवाओं को नए रोजगार और नए अवसर मिलेंगे। मैं इसके लिए गरुड़ एरोस्पेस की टीम को, सारे नौजवान साथियों को बधाई देता हूं। साथियों, देश के लिए ये समय आजादी के अमृत काल का समय है। ये युवा भारत का समय है और भारत के युवाओं का समय है।
On to some other national news. A delegation of Sikhs and Hindus from Afghanistan met Prime Minister Modi at his residence on Saturday. Members of the Afghan, Hindu and Sikh community have been living in India after being evacuated from Afghanistan following the takeover by Taliban. The Modi government has often spelled out its commitment to the minorities of Afghanistan who have faced religious persecution, especially from the Taliban. A terrorist was killed and 2 army personnel martyred in an encounter in Shopian district of Jammu and Kashmir. Security forces were carrying out a search operation in Chermarg in Jainapura area when some terrorists opened fire. 1 terrorist was killed in the retaliatory fire. He was not immediately identified. News now from different states. Voting was held in Tamil Nadu for civic bodies in 38 districts amid tight security. People, including Chief Minister Stalin, MP Kanimori, exercised their franchise. Polling stations were monitored through web streaming and CCTV cameras. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal inaugurated 12,430 new smart classrooms in the government schools of Delhi. He said in the last 7 years, the Delhi government had built 20,000 classrooms, more than any state in the country. The NIA arrested IPS Arvind Digvijay Negi on charges of collaborating with the terrorists. The accused was earlier working with NIA and was later posted as Superintendent of Police in Shimla. The NIA filed a case in November last year and has arrested 6 people in the case so far. The CISF foiled an infiltration attempt at the Mumbai airport. A man was detained for trying to forcibly enter gate number 27 at the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj International Airport. The 38th annual flower show got underway at the Kanchenjunga Stadium in Siliguri, West Bengal. 350 people put up exhibits. The show is aimed at increasing employment and also environmental awareness. News now from election-bound states. Uttar Pradesh is all set for the 3rd phase assembly elections on Sunday. Voting will be held for 59 seats in 16 districts amid tight security. Polling will start from 7 a.m. and continue till 6 p.m. The Election Commission has directed officials to ensure all arrangements to ensure also trouble-free voting in the state. 2.15 crore people are listed as voters. State Minister Agnihotri is one of the 627 candidates in the fray. Back in 2017, the BJP won 49 of the 59 seats in the 3rd phase, and the Samajwadi Party had secured 9 seats back then. And Punjab will also have its single-phase election on Sunday. 1,304 candidates, including 93 women, are in the fray for 117 seats in the state. The highest, 19 candidates are in the fray for the Saneval and Patiala rural seats, while the least, 5 candidates are contesting the Deenanagar seat. Continuing with some election news, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh questioned the opposition's policies at an election rally in Gonda. He said Prime Minister Modi is a socialist in the truest sense of the word for solving the problem of hunger during the COVID crisis. He also praised the UP government's record on the law and order situation in the state. BJP President JP Nadda addressed public meetings in Sultanpur, Gauriganj and Munshiganj. He said the double-engine government of the BJP has ensured that no work gets stuck or delayed. This, he said, has accelerated development across the country. In Pilibhit, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath recounted the misrule of the opposition parties in Uttar Pradesh. He said an atmosphere of anarchy prevailed before 2017. In contrast, the last 5 years saw no riots. He also questioned the Samajwadi Party on the Ahmedabad bomb blast case. And a case was registered against Punjab Chief Minister Charanjit Singh Channi for continuing his election campaign even after the end of the deadline. A case under Section 188 of the IPC was registered on a complaint filed by the Aam Aadmi Party. From elections to diplomacy, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is on a visit to Germany for the Munich Security Conference. He met the foreign ministers and senior representatives of several countries on the sidelines of the conference. Jaishankar held talks with his German counterpart, Annalena Baerbock, on a wide range of bilateral and global issues, which include developments in the Indo-Pacific, Ukraine, and the situation in Afghanistan. Talks with his Iranian counterpart, H. Amir Abdullahian, featured bilateral economic cooperation, Afghanistan, and the Joint Comprehensive Action Plan, or also the Iran nuclear agreement. S. Jaishankar's meeting with the Foreign Minister of Slovenia, Anže Logar, centered on bilateral and multilateral cooperation, while discussions with his Austrian counterpart, Alexander Schallenberg, focused on regional issues. During their interaction, Jaishankar and Foreign Minister of Saudi Arabia, Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud, agreed to intensify preparations for a Strategic Partnership Council meeting, while discussions with his Georgian counterpart, David Zalkalyani, were on the regional situation. And time for a short break here, but coming up next, Storm Eunice batters Europe. Details on the story after this very quick break. Do stay with us. Welcome back after the break. News now from across the world. Russia hit sea and land-based targets with ballistic and cruise missiles as part of its strategic nuclear exercises in Belarus, even as Ukraine said it is keeping all options open. The latest in this report.
Air raid sirens in the eastern Ukrainian region ahead of evacuation from the rebel-controlled territories of Donetsk and Luhansk. Cars and buses jammed for as many as 22 kilometers at the border checkpoint in Russia on Saturday morning. Separatists in Luhansk and Donetsk region that form Ukraine's industrial heartland known as Donbas said they are evacuating civilians to Russia. Leaders in these breakaway regions have declared a full military mobilization amid a spike in violence, developments that the West fears could be used as a pretext for an invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin met Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko in Moscow on Friday. The Kremlin declared massive nuclear drills even as Putin pledged to protect Russia's national interest against what he has called encroaching Western threats. The massive exercise involving Russian forces moved from the Far East is fueling Western fears that they could use it to cut short a way to Ukrainian capital. While Russia's President Vladimir Putin will oversee major military drills along Ukraine's border on Saturday, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is headed to Europe to drum up support. Zelensky is meeting British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and US Vice President Kamala Harris at his Munich Security Conference. Russia maintains that it has no plans to attack, despite Washington saying a Russian invasion could happen within days. Its troops have returned to their permanent bases after they finished the military drills on the Crimean Peninsula on Thursday and Friday. The Russian army held ceremonies for returned soldiers. Moscow has also rejected claims it was responsible for cyber attacks on Ukraine. Germany and United States have urged Russia pursue a diplomatic path to tackle rising tensions over fear of an invasion. Analysts say that while US allies are united on their stand in case of a Russian invasion, they have differences over other scenarios. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
So while tensions at the Russia-Ukraine border are far from over, Storm Eunice is leaving a trail of destruction across Europe. Air, road and rail transport have severely been impacted in the UK. Countries in the continent have raised warning levels to its highest. Here's the report. An Air Portugal plane making an unsuccessful attempt to land at Heathrow Airport in London. Pilots struggled to land amidst the wind speed as high as 120 miles per hour unleashed by Storm Eunice, one of the severest to hit Europe in the last decade. At least 5 people were killed and several others injured by the flying debris and fallen trees.
The impacts of Storm Eunice has been across the southern half of the UK, and we're seeing red warnings in place. That's the highest level warning that we issue in the UK. Means danger to life, and it's affecting some big cities across the southern half of the UK, including London. So millions of people affected by the extreme wind conditions that we've got.
Millions of people in the UK were urged to cancel travel plans and stay indoors on Friday as the storm prompted warnings of high winds and flying debris across northern Europe. In Belgium, many trains were cancelled and schools suspended. According to weather officials, Storm Eunice can go down in history books as one of its kind. Bureau Report, Sansad TV. In some other news from across the globe. China called on all parties to settle the Ukraine crisis and related issues through dialogue and negotiation. This was in response to a joint statement released by the Group of 7 finance ministers on Monday, saying they are ready to impose economic and financial sanctions against Russia over the Ukraine issue. China said all parties should be rational, push forward the comprehensive settlement of Ukraine crisis and related issues through negotiations, and avoid doing anything that will aggravate tensions and also hype up the crisis. The Canadian police have begun to gradually disperse the truck protesters in Ottawa. 70 of them, including 3 organizers, were arrested on Friday. No large-scale violent clashes had occurred. The crackdown on the self-styled Freedom Convoy started in the morning when hundreds of police, some in riot gear and automatic weapons, descended into the protest zone and began leading demonstrators away in handcuffs through the snowy streets as other truckers blared their horns. A ship carrying around 4,000 vehicles, including Porsches, Audis and Bentleys, caught fire near the coast of the Azores. It will be towed to another European country or the Bahamas. Lithium-ion batteries in the electric cars on board caught fire, and the blaze needs specialist equipment to extinguish. It was not clear whether the batteries first sparked the fire. Towing boats from Gibraltar and the Netherlands will take the vessel to the Azores. On to some interesting news now from the world of science and technology. A robot that can burrow through grain could help tons of food going waste every year. The Crover robot is the first fully automated grain drone that can penetrate 10 meters beneath grain storage silos and report back on moisture and humidity levels. In doing so, it can prevent bugs and fungi from growing in the grain. Here's a report.
This is Crover, an unusual drone that operates in some dense and hostile environments. It is still in its testing phase, but once finished, the Crover drone can penetrate up to 10 meters through grain silos. Around the world, harvested grain is stored in silos where it can be infested with bugs or fungi that thrive on humidity. Grain unfit for human consumption leaves no income for the farmer and lays waste large quantities of food.
And the issues with storing long-term grain is moisture content and temperature content of the grain. If it's not put into the grain store in the correct manner, and temperature starts to rise, moisture starts to rise, then in turn bugs start to breed, start to live, mycotoxins and fungus starts to grow in the grain, and then the grain goes off and it's a total loss to me as a farmer, no income.
The Crover drones moves by capturing the grains with the wheels. A tiny sensor on the side monitors in real time the condition of the grain, its temperature and humidity, and alerts the farmer on his smartphone. Attached to a power cable, the drone can operate for many more hours, but also help in the retrieval in case of a mechanical breakdown. A commercial version of the drone could be launched in summer months. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Another first-of-its-kind robot is helping older people conduct their daily lives and stay active. Named Geeta, it is an aid for the elderly that follows them to stores, carries bags, and even acts as a seat when they need a break. The robot is paired with an individual following him or her around while carrying up to 23 kgs of goods. It can move as fast as 6 miles per hour if its owner breaks into a jog and has a battery life of 6 hours. The robot's 6 cameras give it 360-degree vision, enabling it to detect its owner while using AI to learn about its surroundings. Its makers say that its lights and sounds make it seem more like a faithful companion, making sounds and little movements to show that it is ready to walk with you. And an Israeli farmer has grown a giant strawberry weighing 289 grams. The titanic fruit has become the latest entry into the Guinness Book of World Records that declared it the world's heaviest strawberry. The strawberry was grown on the farm near the city of Netanya in central Israel in February 2021, but was only confirmed as the heaviest on record a year later. The supersized fruit is a local variety called Ilan that tends to grow to a hefty size. The previous record holder was a Japanese fruit grown back in 2015 in Fukuoka that tipped the scales at 250 grams. And time now for all the sporting action. So let's begin with cricket. Rohit Sharma has been appointed Test captain for the upcoming Sri Lanka series. With this, Rohit is now the India captain in all 3 formats of the game. The selectors also dropped out of form Ajinkya Rahane and Cheteshwar Pujara for the series against Lanka. Jasprit Bumrah has been appointed as T20 and Test vice-captain for the Sri Lanka series. India have sealed the T20 international series against the West Indies. In the second of the 3-match series played in Kolkata, India set the Caribbeans a daunting target of 187. Virat Kohli and Rishabh Pant scored half-centuries for the home side. In reply, a century stand for the 3rd wicket between Nicholas Pooran and Rovman Powell put Indies in striking distance of the target. However, a brilliant 19th over by Bhuvaneshwar Kumar paid to their chances and the West Indies fell short by 8 runs. The BCCI gave Virat Kohli and Rishabh Pant a 10-day break, after which they left the Indian team's bio bubble before Sunday's 3rd and final T20 international against the West Indies, underway in Kolkata. Both players will miss the T20 series against Sri Lanka and join the team for the Test series starting 4th March in Mohali. Virat's next Test match will be his 100th. New Zealand claimed a rare victory over South Africa, wrapping up the first Test by an innings and 276 runs on day 3 in Christchurch. New Zealand bowled out South Africa for 111 in their second innings to win the first Test by an innings and 276 runs. It is only the 5th time in 46 Tests since 1932 that New Zealand have beaten South Africa, with their last victory coming back in 2004. Under-19 World Cup star Rajyavardhan Hangarkekar has been accused of age fudging. In a letter written to the BCCI, the Commissioner of the Sports and Youth Department, Maharashtra, alleged that Hangarkekar has fudged his age. The office is also said to have attached evidence against the cricketer. According to a Marathi publication, his real age is 21. Moving to football now, Italian giants Juventus fell flat at home in Derby della Mole with a 1-1 draw against Torino. 4th place Juventus are at 47 points from 26 games, with 5th placed Serie A side Atlanta on 44, with 2 more games poised to pounce. Juventus were unable to hold on to their slim 1-0 lead in the second half, allowing an unmarked Andrea Belotti to score the game-tying goal. Sania Mirza and her Czech partner Lucy Radeka frittered away a great opportunity to win the women's doubles semi-final of the Dubai Tennis Championships. After dominating the first set, Sania and Radeka lost 6-2, 2-6, 7-10 to Lyudmila Kishenok of Ukraine and Latvia's Jelena Ostapenko. The Indo-Czech duo had a wild card for the WTA 500 tournament. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu underscored that the message of Bhagavad Gita will always be relevant. He urged religious leaders to take it to the youth and the public. The Vice President on Saturday inaugurated the 5th Global Bhagavad Gita Conference through virtual medium. He said that spirituality is necessary for the surge of inner strength and mental peace. Expressing concern over the increasing mental stress among students, the Vice President advised to have counselors in all educational institutions. And before we end the bulletin, a relook at the headlines. Stress on adopting biofuels to replace petroleum. Prime Minister Modi inaugurates Asia's largest bio-CNG plant in Indore. Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar at Munich Security Conference meets global leaders on the sidelines. All set for third phase of voting in Uttar Pradesh and single phase polls in Punjab. Voting will be from 7 a.m. on Sunday. Separatists in Donbas evacuate civilians to Russia, announce military mobilization at the border. Russia calls West's fears of invasion baseless. And Team India announced for Sri Lanka Rohit Sharma captain in all 3 formats. Cheteshwar Pujara and Ajinkya Rahane dropped for the tests. So that's it from us in this bulletin. Thanks very much for your time.